You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
You're listening to the winning literary show, Off the Shelf Books Talk Radio, live with host Denise Turney, author of the books Long Walk Up, Portia, Love Pour Over Me, Spiral, Love Has Many Faces, and Rosetta's Great Hope. Turn up your dial and get ready for a blast of feature author interviews, 411 on book festivals, writing conferences, and so much more. Ready? Let's go.
So welcome to our Off the Shelf listeners, and I want to let you know that you are listening to the Winning Book Podcast, Off the Shelf. As I always start, I want to thank our loyal listeners who've been with us now 18 years. It's just, time gets by. It's hard to believe. It's cloudy here where I live. I'm in the southeastern part of the United States, but I want to welcome you to this Saturday, June the 14th. It's a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and thank you for all you do. For our loyal listeners who've never missed a show, always catch us at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays. Thank you. If this is your first time here, I want to thank you for joining us today as well. We have a wonderful author on deck for you this morning. But before we introduce our author, you guys, I asked you how good of a mystery sleuth are you? I love a mystery. I love to see what the inner workings in a person to make them do what they do. But I also value relationships. And if you do, there's a soulmate relationship in here. And these 5 guys meet in college in Pennsylvania. One of them is, actually 2 of them are athletic standouts. And one is also academically very, very, very gifted. But something happens at college. Soon as this one guy who's on his way to the Olympics, soon as he gets there, he's a middle distance runner, and he's an amazing runner. He witnesses something as soon as he gets there that later one of these 5 friends he meets is connected to. So there's a mystery in this story, and there's a complicated father-son relationship, but this beautiful, beautiful soulmate relationship as well. If you value relationships and you love a mystery, I encourage you to get a copy of Love Pour Over Me by yours truly, Denise Turney. It's an ebook and in paperback and an audio book. Love Pour Over Me by Denise Turney. Please go get a copy and let me know how you enjoy Love Pour Over Me. And now let us go and meet our very special off-the-shelf guest. And this morning's guest is Marcia Peck. She is a retired cellist who has played with the Minnesota Orchestra for more than 40 years and the Grand Teton Music Festival for more than 50 years, which is impressive. And this award-winning author has penned her first novel, Water Music, and is busy working on her second novel. And she has been writing for more than 40 years. Marcia's work has appeared in journals, newspapers, and magazines. She earned her Bachelor of Music from the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. She also studied in Germany in the master class of the renowned Italian cellist Antonio Gianigro. Hopefully I said his name right. And it's just a delight to have Marcia on Off the Shelf with us this morning. And I think you will absolutely enjoy visiting her website. So I encourage you to check her out online at marciapeck.com. And that's spelled MarciaPeck.com. And again, that's MarciaPeck.com. She has this book, very conversational writing style at her website. You feel like you're just chatting with her. So I think you would enjoy checking out MarciaPeck.com. So we want to welcome you to Off the Shelf this morning, Marcia.
Oh, Denise, what a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for having me.
And it's a looking forward to what you share. It's a pleasure to having you here. I always learn something from every guest, as I'm sure our listeners do, which is why they keep coming back. And so I'm just curious and excited to see what you will share this morning. So to begin today's show, Marcia, can you tell off the shelf listeners where you grew up and what life was like for you growing up?
Uh, I grew up in New Jersey, very just outside Newark. It's so I'm a Jersey girl at heart, although my family was from New England, and that always kind of flavored life in our house. Um, yeah, I grew up in New Jersey. It was a typical town, a typical family. My father was a teacher, and I had a couple of sisters. What else can I say?
So you had a fun, what you call like a traditional, I guess, childhood and out living outside of Newark, New Jersey for our listeners. That's more like closer to New York City. It's not right there, but it's closer to New York City part of New Jersey. New Jersey's a small state. You know, you
That's
got your beaches and boardwalks and all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
that's right. And my family, in New Jersey, people said why we spent our summers up on Cape Cod because of our uh, family links to New England. But our friends in New Jersey always said, "Why would you go there? You can go to the Jersey Shore." Um, but yeah, so we missed out on that part of it. But we always had to be in the house when the streetlights came on. Of course, at at that time, it never occurred to us that the streetlights came on at vastly different hours depending on the season.
Ah, yes, yeah. I've heard so many people say that when that light comes on, you better be in the house. Now,
That's
when you were a little girl, Marcia, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, what a good question. I didn't aspire to much of anything. My parents were musicians, and the rule in the house was I had to practice 1 hour, and then my time was my own. So I had to do that hour every day. But then I got out of chores and things like that. So if I did my hour on the cello, so I kind of fell into my career as a musician. It's by the time I was in high school, it seemed to me it was the only thing I was good at. So I guess it chose me, or my parents kind of chose that path.
Interesting. That is interesting. Of all of our guests, that's not very many have said that. So that's very interesting. Who or what inspired your love for writing books?
Oh, I fell in love with books at a very young age. I can remember reading this book has stayed with me my whole life. It was called Blue Willow by Doris Gates, and I found out recently it's still in print. It was a book about Depression era family, kind of itinerant, doing farm work here and there in the western Southwest Oklahoma and uh, Utah, and that the family had one possession that was their, it was sort of their lodestar. It was a plate, a china plate, and the pattern on it was blue willow. And the mother said, "We'll always put this where we can see it, but we're not going to use it until we have a house of our own." And it will be, so it was their touchstone for finding a more stable, better life.
Interesting. Oh my goodness. Thanks for sharing that. Now, music is, they say, the universal language. Music. Just what is it about the cello that attracted you more than any other instrument?
Well, I wish I could say I chose it. My father chose it for me, and he chose it because he said I had big hands, which I guess is true. But I do love the cello. I have grown to love it more than any. I think it's the best instrument of all. People say that it has a voice like the human voice. It's the closest thing to the human voice of all the instruments we hear. um, Beautiful range. It gets melodies, but it also gets supporting roles in quartets and in the orchestra, and in popular music. We see cellos on stage. I think it's a gorgeous instrument, and I would never have been a good violinist. It was too. I don't know. I wouldn't have been a fit for me.
Interesting. I worked with a colleague back when I was at Merrill Lynch, going back years ago, and she started out, excuse me, when she was young. I think it was the violin she said she played. And she said it was really, really tough, very competitive. And I'm thinking, really? How many people play the violin? She said, you'd be surprised. And she said, it. I asked her, why did you not pursue it? She's very sharp, bright. I mean, this thought she was just an amazing woman. She said, it's, when I tell you competitive, she said, I mean, it's very competitive. And people who get into different sports, whether it's tennis or whatever, they're like, once you start going so far, it is so competitive and so hard to stand out. She said she just decided to go down a different path. But I just wanted to ask you, like, when I was covering freelance writing in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, I got the privilege to cover the Bensalem Orchestra, which was a small orchestra. And I always thought I wouldn't like orchestra music, but I actually love it. So I actually went there and got to sit with them twice, and I was just amazed. Like the conductor, the slightest little sound, I thought they sounded fabulous. He'd pause and say, wait a minute, wait a minute." He could hear something was off, and I couldn't even pick it up. So I wanted to ask you, based on what like my colleague had told me, how competitive and difficult it can be to make it, even land on an orchestra. How easy or challenging is it to get
Oh,
a spot on an orchestra?
your colleague is completely right, 100% right. I'm so glad that I'm not trying to compete against these kids today, because I'm glad I got my job when I did. It's especially violinists are just, it's a tremendously difficult instrument, and they start as young as 3 years old now.
Mm.
I started when I was six or so, which is already by today's standards kind of late.
Wow.
For stringed instruments. Winds are a little different because they need to grow their embouchure, their teeth, and they et cetera, to play a wind instrument. But so strings do start very young, and oh gosh, the kids who are winning auditions in our orchestra these days are fabulous.
Mm. Oh my goodness. So I want to ask you next, how did playing in an orchestra impact you over the years and influence your writings? And next we're going to start talking about water music. But how did playing in the orchestra, how did it influence you and your writings?
Oh, I loved playing in an orchestra. I loved that. I'm an introvert. Maybe most writers are. I don't know, but I loved being a part of this family that was creating something, and we had this common mission or common work, uh, to um, to do our best and to work as a team and to make things sound good. But let's see, where was I going with this? Oh, the orchestra. There was something about rehearsals that concentrated my mind, so that without actual thinking, if that makes any sense, I could draw on my imagination when I'm making music, and somehow that would feed into the writing later. I'm
Mm.
not being very articulate about this. I'm sorry. It's it was a kind of working to work mind and body. You know, when you're playing an
Ah.
instrument, you're
Mhm.
working with your fingers,
Mhm.
and you have to stop. Sometimes you don't have time to think about what's coming next. The
Mhm.
notes are flying by, but there is some kind of inner mind that kicks in, and
Mm.
I think that's true of writing as well. Sometimes they call it being in the flow when you're writing,
Yes, yes.
and yeah, I think that's a real thing actually.
Okay. Now, where did you get the ideal for the book Water Music?
Well, um, as I said, we spent our summers on Cape Cod, and I fell in love with Cape Cod as a child. Uh, it was just a magical place. I suppose many of us who've been to camp or had little summer trips or outings, it's easy to see how one does, but we did it year after year. We returned to the same little acre on a salt pond, and it was magical. My father dug clams, and he caught flounder, and he always grew tomatoes and cukes, and he it was hard on my mother, I will say that. She had to wash dishes, and she pump water and wash dishes on a
Mm.
under a tree. So that wasn't her greatest, her favorite thing. But I don't know. We just had this little magical world there. So that my love of Cape Cod is where I think the book started.
Okay. So I wanted for our listeners to they can start visualizing the story, the makings of Water Music. Where and when does the story take place, and why did you choose this setting?
The story takes place in 1956,
Hmm.
and I chose that because it's a story when Lily, our main character, is about 8 years old, or no, sorry, she's 11 years old, going on 12, and her it's a time when life was hard for women, and Lily's mother is having a particularly hard summer. I wanted it to be that particular summer because that's the summer the Andrea Doria sank. I don't know if our listeners remember the Andrea Doria, but it was a beautiful, beautiful, very young Italian ocean liner that sank not far from Long Island Sound, and that plays a part in the sinking of the Andrea Doria happens during this summer. And for me, it was a little symbolic of the troubles that Lily's mother is having.
Ah, interesting. Very interesting. So, can you give our listeners, without giving too much of the story away, just a brief overview? You know, you told us it takes place in 1956, the connection between the sinking of this Italian ocean liner, but can you give us just a little bit more of a synopsis without giving the story away? Because I have certainly more questions to ask you about Water Music.
I'll try. Um, Lily's family picks this pond, this salt pond, because her father's brother, Lily's uncle, lives across the pond on the other side, and he's as there are family problems as much as Lily's father is a sturdy, reliable teacher. His brother is brash and competitive. Lily's family's having money troubles, and a
Mm.
lot uh, a lot of this creates tension between those two families, and it's an important time in Lily's life because she's about to turn 12. She's growing up, and to me, the sense of that little pond that can follow a creek out to a bay and then finally to the ocean. They could do that on a rowboat with a rowboat if they tried, and that was an image for me that I felt mirrored Lily growing from this small world, but she's got to find her way into a bigger world. And she's got lots of problems with the family across the pond.
And this is her uncle's family. Does her uncle's family have money? You said he's competitive, does he?
Ah, yes, they do have money.
Ah,
Yes, and he
interesting.
lets them know it.
Oh, is he the older of the two brothers?
Actually, he's the younger. He's the younger.
Interesting. And that's interesting. Just this is why I love doing the off the shelf, because when you start to, you can't put everything in a book description when you write it. When you listen to the author say these types of things, it makes the story that much more intriguing to me. So you just introduced us to Lily Granger. Some she's 11, going on 12, and you told us her family, they live by a pond. Across the pond is her brotherless, but that's why they chose to move there. So that's my question. If her brother's competitive, he's got this money, they're financially struggling, he throws this up in their face. Why would they want to live close to him?
Well, aren't families like that? I mean, they're either enmeshed in ways that they can't kind of quite separate out, or or they sometimes just divorce each other, right? But I think Lily's father is a devoted family man, and he can't help. He has a history with his brother that also ties him to his brother. They have a Lily's father has had polio as a child, and that very much influenced their relationship.
Wow, the more you talk about this story. Now, Lily, she's 11 years old. How many brothers and sisters does she have? And what's her personality? I can tell you from what you said so far about her, I'm picturing this quiet little girl who's kind of scared to just let go of her mother's the hem of her mother's skirt. This is how I'm picturing her. So what's her? Does she have brothers and sisters? Is she the youngest or the oldest? And what's her personality like?
Uh, Lily has an older sister, and the older sister has is best friends with the cousin, her girl cousin across the pond. Lily would love to be a part of that as a threesome, but she's the youngest, and so they tolerate her sometimes. So that's one of the things Lily faces in the summer. Her mother is troubled. She has her own issues with her own mother, um,
Mm.
and Lily longs to capture her mother's attention, but her mother is very distracted that summer. Lily's required to practice her cello, and which she does, and she has a marvelous cello teacher. He's about 100 years old, and just a delightful character, and that's kind of a lifeline for Lily during this summer. I actually had a very he is truly based on a cello teacher I had when I was young, and I just adored him. At the end of each lesson, he would do some kind of a trick for me, and
Oh.
it might not be anything more than just a bird call, but he was so kind. I would
Oh.
never have been a cellist without him, I'm sure.
Oh. Is she bold? Is she tentative? Is she what is her personality like?
She's searching. She looks for clues. She's looks for clues on what's going on with people. I would not say she's bold. But she's she looks to see she's caring, and she's earnest, and she's not afraid of work, but She's really trying to she's tries to understand what's going on, and especially what's going on with her mother.
Yeah, oh my God. You got a lot going on in this story. The father and the uncle, and now her mother's dealing with different things, and her mother's and grandmother have their issues. So, but does Lily see it as her responsibility to salvage her parents' marriage? And if so, why?
Oh boy, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. She does interfere. She does try to read what's going on, and she often gets it wrong. Um, she takes on a lot of what's wrong in the family, and tries to be a force for good. But because she gets things wrong, she gets in trouble.
Oh my God, this book sounds interesting. Water music. What are Lily's parents like? You said her mother has her own issues. Again, I don't want you to give anything away, but if you could introduce us to her mother and her father.
Lily's mother and father, they they have their own issues with each other. Although, well, the father is a typical '50s father. He's smart. He kind of what his decisions have carry more weight than hers. But and the mother longs she also is a musician and kind of in unfulfilled ways. So that's a source of tension between them. Is that kind of what you meant by that question?
Yeah. Oh well, they're like describing their personalities. It's like if one of them was like fun, gregarious, and when you said 1950s father, that kind of it's amazing how over the decades and generations, the women's roles in the United States, maybe not so much globally, people change. So you go back, you say, oh, your parents were very different in the 1940s, 1950s than what they are today. But just like some people are more, they just love fun. They love to socialize, and some people like just being by themselves. They don't. If you had a party at your home, they would be very disturbed by that.
Ah, yes, yes, for sure. The father is the more gregarious of the two, but neither one is a partier. And the mother really is has wounds from her own mother, so she tends to be a loner.
How I'm curious now, how old are they? Because people became parents younger uh, generations ago. Well, are they like in their 20s, 30s?
Yes, they would be early 30s.
Okay. Today they might would be in their 40s.
Right, right.
Now,
Yes.
can you introduce us to a few other major and minor characters who helped to move this story forward in water music?
Well, you've already met the cello teacher. He's a darling, and Lily has an aunt who's married to the brash uncle across the pond, and she's smart, she's educated, she's there's no way should she be married to this man to Lily's uncle. She's educated, she's thoughtful, she's a little bit unstable, and gets taken advantage of in that way. She's
Oh.
very I have a lot of love for that character in the book.
Mm. Are you a pantser type of writer, Marcia, where you just sit down and start writing? And if not, how did you take water music from a blank page to finished novel?
Oh, wow. Well, I thought I was gonna write a short story when I started it. Uh,
Interesting.
it just seemed like a little anecdote that might turn into a story. And then but then there was this other thing that happened, and well, that could be a linked story. Maybe it was two stories, and then three, and then I finally had to face the music, and realize, no, this really wants to be a novel, and I had never written a novel. It's my first, and so I had to put on my big girl pants and see what I could do. Fortunately, I had the luxury of not having a deadline. I could take time. It could take as long as it took, and it did take a long time. I bet from start to finish, it was probably 10 years.
Wow.
But I had a job, so
Hmm.
and I found that with working on a novel, the real challenge was that I couldn't do work on it for a day and then put it away for 2 weeks and then come back to it, because the whole thing had to be in my mind at once, because everything was connected to everything else, even just the rhythm of the language and the imagery. So it wasn't just the storyline, but everything had to cohere in a certain way, which I was learning as a to be um, so yeah, it was wonderful for me that I could take time, and as a musician, the musicality of the language was important to me. I often just took a morning to read a couple of chapters aloud to myself, just to hear how, just to hear how it sounded, and whether it was all in the same key. I would say.
Okay. What have readers been saying about water music? It certainly sounds extremely intriguing to me. What have readers been saying about the book?
Oh, well, I'm lucky. I've had some good reviews. The readers respond to the language. Readers respond to the location, the imagery, the I guess my love for Cape Cod. I hope my love for Cape Cod comes through. Just the rhythms of the tides and the landscape. I live in Minnesota, and I really, really do miss that.
Oh, do you have plans to turn water music into a series so readers can watch Lily grow up and maybe have a family of her own if that's her choice?
You are not the first person to ask me that, and I have to give it some serious thought. My next book, which is very close to done, is completely different. It's about a stolen cello, um, and it has a little bit of a mystery to it. It is not a mystery per se, but I would say it's a love story in a lot of ways. So um, I don't try to write a genre fiction, so I'm not trying to fit a into a cake pan or a form. I let the subject go where it wants to go, and I've had a ball writing this book about a stolen cello.
What's the title of this book? And when will you expect to have it on the market?
Well, the working title is Unattended Moment.
Mm.
And that moment when you just look away for a second and your life might change just because you weren't paying attention.
Wow.
So yeah, I'll have it finished soon. You're
And this
inspiring me to get to roll up my sleeves on that one.
and you said this one is pretty more like a love story, right?
Yes, yes.
Very interesting. Who steals this jello? Okay. Um, now you've also and does Lily make an appearance in this or no?
She does not. No.
Okay.
So that's why your question about following Lily later in her growth, that's very intriguing. Hmm.
Okay. Now you've also worked published in journals, magazines, and newspapers. And I always imagined that having writing for a journal to be tough. Uh, has that been your experience for those our listeners who might be interested in doing that, going down that path? Is it tougher, or is writing a novel easier?
Ah, well, both and. I was working on short pieces simply because that worked with my work schedule. But getting things into journals, you just keep trying, and something succeeds. And very often it's unexpected, but it it gave me a big boost every time a piece was accepted, or I did a couple of op-ed pieces for the paper, and it's just a good ego boost, and helps keep you going on a longer work. I and the novel, it's is I would say for me it was important not to be impatient about it, and
Mm.
just to and so in the interim, while the novel was cooking along, it was very encouraging to have something accepted by a journal, or um, a an online zine or something like that.
Okay. Now, would you recommend, based on your experience, that writers submit their works to journals to expand their readership, to build their audience?
I wish I do. I Sure. I mean, I think now that water music is getting some visibility, that it's really wonderful to be able to put on my website where people can find other things. It certainly makes me feel credible as an author. Uh, yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, the one thing that I've really relied on during my while I'm writing is my excellent writers group, who meets once a month, and we read each other's stuff. And uh, there's nothing like having that bond with some other writers
Hmm.
who um, who are frank but kind. And if water music is a success, I owe a lot to it owes a lot to my writers group.
Oh, how nice. Now, what type of writing did you do for Musical America, Strat Magazine, and Strings Magazine? You have quite a your broad writing background.
Those were pieces. Those were nonfiction pieces that had to do with certain, maybe an orchestra tour. We toured South Africa. I think that was what I did. That was what I wrote about for Strings. It was a monumentally wonderful trip for the orchestra, and very meaningful in every way. The other, I did a piece about our music director who retired. So, and the orchestra has a recent music director now. Both were Scandinavians, and in fact, one was Finnish and one is Danish. So, yeah, I've been able to do some nonfiction as well,
Look
which
at
is good.
you.
Yeah, it's
Oh
good.
my gosh.
It's good practice.
And congratulations. I used to read this years ago. When I saw this and I was researching for your interview, I said, oh my goodness, congratulations on being a Glimmer Train Award finalist for your short story, The Flavor of Borch. Can you just give us real briefly, as we have a few more questions about your short story? And again, congratulations on making it as a finalist.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I That was one of my early pieces that I wrote, and I slaved over it. But it was about it was about and it was a Russian violinist who went to became a soldier in World War II, and was when he got arrested in Germany, they sent him to play in the opera house on his old violin. And for the duration of the war. I just had a ball writing that. That was,
Mm.
yeah. Ch- Grisha was his name.
Oh, you are very humble. So, for our listeners, another congratulations to Marcia for having your short story Long Distance nominated for a Pushcart Prize. What's the inspiration behind the short story Long Distance?
Oh, long distance. Um, oh, that was actually based on my life. With that was sort of semi autobiographical. When I was doing competitions, I was studying in Europe, and I was doing competitions on the cello, kind of major competitions, and uh, that was that was based on a memory of having to call my father and tell him that I didn't get the prize. It was,
Oh.
yeah, that that one makes my heart flutter.
Oh my goodness. I love the topics and things that you do pick. They had that emotional connect to them. Now, while I was visiting your website, and I want to give that out to our listeners again, and that website for our listeners is marciapeck.com. And when I talk about these next few questions, you'll be happy if you go over there now. It's MarciaPeck.com, marciapeck.com. So while I was doing research for this interview, I discovered that you also appear to have a strong visual eye. You have a strong ear and this visual eye, and then your writing. Are there any plans to delve into photography as a form of storytelling?
Oh God, I don't think of myself as being good at visually gifted in any way. um, Photography. Well, oh, I I love great pictures, but I no, that just seems way out of reach for me.
Okay, okay. Now, speaking of like a visual eye, who designed the cover for Water Music, and what was it like working with the book cover designer?
Oh, the real great benefit of being with an independent publisher is I got to pick the title, which was important to me, and I got to pick the cover. And this is a artist, Tom Middlebrook from North Carolina. He's a stunning photographer and artist, and I had asked him. I've known him just slightly, but he was ever so kind to agree to do the cover. And I asked him for something that would give us the image of moving from that small world of the salt pond into a larger milieu. And I thought he did a fabulous job. I love the cover, and I love the dark clouds that are a little bit ominous. Yeah, I think he did a fabulous job. Thank you for asking.
Yes, yes. Now, last few questions, please, Marcia. Based on your personal experience, I'd like to ask this question for our listeners who themselves might be writers. Please share 3 to 4 steps that you've taken that you have personally found to be effective at getting the word out about your books.
Uh, uh, so I find myself pretty inept at social media, and I've had to learn a lot very quickly. I'm still learning. Um, I did hire a publicist. Again, I'm with a small indie press, and they don't have a big budget for media. Word of mouth. I've been going to book clubs. I've been invited to book clubs, let me say, who have read the book and discussed it. And I've loved doing that. I've loved having that feedback from people. Yeah, people are very generous. Getting it into libraries is important, and it's tricky. Um, and having an opportunity to speak with you. I mean, this is just gold. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Where can off the shelf listeners get a copy of Water Music?
Water music is, well, Amazon, of course. Any bookstore. It's on at Barnes and Noble, and if they don't have it in stock, they're happy to order it. Any bookstore would order it. And I'm happy to say it's recently been released on audiobook with a great reader. Emma Love reads it, and she captures Lily's voice so beautifully. So yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have any upcoming speaking engagements? If so, or any public appearances? If so, could you share some so our listeners could support you?
Thank you. I'm not right now. I'm about to go to my summer music festival in Wyoming, and then I've carved out a month for writing after that. So no, I'm shoulder to the wheel right now.
Okay. And if you're on social media, can you let us know where people can find you on social media?
Well, links are on my website, marciapeck.com. And I'm on Goodreads. I'm on Facebook, of course. I guess I need to do Instagram. I'm good. My daughter has helped me a little bit, and I'm going to have to ask her to help me with Instagram.
Okay. Oh, what a pleasure. You are very humble. We have had the pleasure of speaking with Marcia Peck, and she is just very, very humble. She's a retired cellist, and she played with the Minnesota Orchestra and being for more than 40 years, and that by itself is very, very impressive, and the Grand Teton Music Festival for more than 50 years. That an impressive musical career, and she's award-winning author, Glimmer Train, and I mean just amazing. So her first novel is Water Music, and she said her second novel should be out soon or finished soon. Unattended Moment. So it's about the stolen cello. It's like a love story. So we'll wait and see when that comes out. But Water Music, the star of that is little 11-year-old Lily and what's going on with her family. If you came in on a show near the midstream or near the end and you're like, oh man, I missed it. No worries. Once the show finishes streaming, you can go back and listen to it as often as you like and share it with book lovers and music lovers and people who just they love family and a very engaging story. And again, I encourage you to visit Marcia Peck online at marciapeck.com, marciapeck.com. Thank you, Marsha, for being here with us on Off the Shelf this
What a
morning.
pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. And as I always tell our listeners, thank you so much for being here with us. Just set your calendar. You're gonna catch uh, Off the Shelf Books podcast on Saturdays. And once the show finishes streaming again, you can listen. We have listeners from all over the world who tune in. And thank you to our loyal listeners and to our new listeners. I hope that you all will become amongst those who are our loyal listeners who listen every year. We've had New York Times best-selling authors. We've had movie producers on. We've had all types of people on Off the Shelf, all things story. And as I always tell you, you are incredible. You really are. You are amazing. Please go out and create a fabulous day for yourself. And I'll see you back here next Saturday. Marsha, I'll send you a link to the show when it finishes streaming. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Many, many thanks, Denise.
Thank you.